Well, hello and welcome to episode 44. A few years back, I ran into some idiot who was telling the parking attendant at the railroad station that he doesn't play by the rules. And he's saying this to an 87-year-old guy who's just doing his job and was an absolutely wonderful person. So as he said his piece and walked off, I told the attendant, "You should have told him I don't play by the rules either. What a wonderful world this would be if no one played by the rules. And you must play by some rules because you're parking here every day and commuting. So do you tell that to your boss?" And lastly, you could have said, "I'll pass this on to my boss and I have your license plate number." F him, that arrogant, self serving, elitist asshole. So one night recently, we got together with some friends, and it's six of us, three couples, and the three men sit down together at the island, and the three women sit together at the dining room table just a few feet away. And suddenly I notice that the host starts giving and getting strange looks and quiet words with his wife. And as usual, I'm curious and I check the facial tones on both the host and the hostess as I have my back to her. And I see that it's escalating a bit. And all six of us have been married for decades, so there's a natural animosity among husbands and wives. And it doesn't take much for any of us to get started. So I decided to stand up and say, "Look, these are two totally separate universes here. We cannot share our subject matter, and our two universes cannot interact. It's like the matter antimatter theory. If we interact, it's total destruction. There's a boundary here, and it can't be crossed, so that's it. You stay in your universe, we'll stay in ours. When the evening ends, we can go back to our normal and painful existence. Capiche?" And surprisingly, they listened, and it remained peaceful for most of the evening until just before leaving. We all have to get some digs into each of our partners. That you can never control. As they say, there's honor among thieves, but none among husbands and wives. On the marvelous song, "Nowadays Clancy Can't Even Sing" from Buffalo Springfield, and it's a great song, there's a lyric line that states, "Who's in the corner and down on the floor with pencil and paper just counting the score?" That's what writers and journalists attempt to do. They keep score of what's going on in life. I'm going to go down an alley here that I prefer not to, and I'll attempt some brevity on this subject as it lends itself to judgment. And we all know that everyone has their own opinions and beliefs, and we have to respect that. But I'm very concerned about the news that is presented in this country and the world, as much of it is, for lack of a better term, total crap. If you want to be informed by valid, honest, and legitimate news reporting, I would suggest the following news sources. And I'll start off with The Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, who's on HBO on Sunday evenings for part of the year, which reports on a few dominant topics from the past week and then presents one particular topic each week. And as an example, he can do a show on conservative efforts to ban critical race theory, the power grid, trucks and what it's like to be a trucker, sex work, police interrogations, unemployment, data brokers, homelessness, and etc. All of which are done masterfully, as many of these topics get very little airtime, and they focus on these topics on the show for about 30 of the 35 minutes that it's aired. It's literally one of the best shows on TV right now. In a continuation of legitimate, intelligent, and unbiased news sources, I would suggest any news from public broadcasting such as Frontline, BBC World News, Amanpour and Company, NPR, Vice News, and Univision. CNN and MSNBC do a fairly decent job of reporting, though they have their moments when they veer off and get a bit too loud and bombastic. But it's still pretty good. Way too much of our reporting and newscasting in this country is slanted, untruthful, and at times repeating the same ideological message in everything they report. It reminds me of a truckload of toady sycophants, ass-kissers, or flunkies with no backbone who will say whatever you tell me to say as long as you pay me, spitting out gibberish and nonsense. This is not journalism, not even close. It's ethnocentric, tribalistic, biased, xenophobic, bigoted, intolerant of diversity, partisan, discriminating, and prejudicial. And totally wrong. Add that to the list. Remember, folks, according to Brookings in the U.S. Census Bureau, Whites will become a minority around the year 2045 and will, according to estimates, be 49.7% of the population. And many people can easily be affected and swayed and are more comfortable hearing news that supports their beliefs. In other words, they don't seek objective news. They want to hear what they want to hear. All else is lies and deceit. And enough of this. I already said enough. I already said more than I wanted to say, and my apologies. I'll end it here. But not the video. One more paragraph. So as I'm trying to get my hands on the book Labyrinths by author Jorge Luis Borges from the local library, I've run into some confusion with the status of the book as they have sent me mixed information. One email claimed that it was ready for pickup, but my account page on their website claims that it wasn't available. So of course, as I went to discuss this with them, I told them that I didn't anticipate that trying to access the book Labyrinths would turn into my very own labyrinth, and I'll end here.